Hi, I'm Dr. Jaron Sorn from Point Chiropractic. At our clinic here in Caldwell, Idaho, we look at utilizing natural therapies to help people regain their health. And the reason I got involved with the work that we do here is because there are really a lot of people in the world around us that are dealing oftentimes with chronic conditions where they may get a little bit of relief for their symptoms, but a lot of times those symptoms or those conditions keep being persistent or keep coming back and bothering them, and it can be a variety of different things. But what I started looking at is, it's not that people don't care or they're not trying to help them. They are. But oftentimes in giving a simple, quick response or a pill or whatever it might be to kind of help mask the pain, we don't really get to the root cause of what's going on. And then in that manner, we can't really solve the problem. So those problems keep coming back, keep on recurring and recurring. So what we're going to talk about tonight are three main topics. First, we're going to talk about the body's grand design, where we come from, are we supposed to be healthy, how we're supposed to function, how our body should function. Second thing we're going to look at is, again, some of these chronic conditions that really a lot of people, again, struggle with. And that can be anything from neck pain, back pain, chronic headaches, fatigue syndromes or tiredness, sometimes even difficulty with weight loss. Now, what we're going to look at with these conditions is, one, if we get to the bottom of them, is there any way that we can actually move past them and beyond them? Perhaps give some long-term relief, if not relief for the rest of our life, if we make the right choices. What we want to think about right now, first off, is how many of us have tried, like, let's say, an exercise program that worked great for our friends, but then we try to do it and it doesn't quite work out for us like we saw it work out for other people. Or how about a weight loss program? Who's tried a weight loss program that worked great for lots of people, but for whatever reason doesn't seem to work out for us? Or how about a low back pain program or a neck pain program, a program to get rid of our headaches? What we tend to see is there are lots of books out there with lots of solutions to different problems we might encounter. And sometimes we might feel like, hey, nothing seems to work for me like it works for everyone else. So we're also going to look at right now three things that we need to actually focus on to have something work for us, work for the individual. First off, we need to have a program that's designed specifically for you. We're all a little bit different. It's a little bit different path that we all took to get to where we are today. And in the same way, we need an individual program to actually get the results we'd like to see. The second item we look at is basically just like, again, we followed a path to get to where we are now. Well, our body will also follow a path back to health. And think of lining up dominoes one after the other. So if we line up these dominoes, what happens when you push them? Well, you push the one at the end and they all fall in sequence, right? Our body will heal in a similar fashion if we do the right things for it at the right time in the right order. Okay, so it's getting to the bottom of that. The third thing we look at is really, once we start a program, once we start down that path and make that decision, is being consistent with it until we get to the point where the body's actually healing and actually doing well. So just like it took a long time for us to get to where we are today, a lot has gone into creating us and everything that we are. Well, it takes a path, sometimes it takes some time and consistent effort to actually see the results that we'd like to see. And unfortunately, sometimes we give up before the journey even begins. So, first off, we talked about where we came from. The question is, are we designed to be healthy or are we designed to be sick? What's our body supposed to do naturally? I think most people would agree that our body's designed to be healthy. So the question is, how did we get to where we are if we're not feeling so healthy or so great right now? So first off, where we all start is as one cell, right? So we all have the same beginning, one little cell, and then we turn into 2 cells, and then we turn into 4 cells, then 4 cells turns into 8 cells, and then 8 cells into 16 cells, and we keep on dividing and dividing and dividing until one day a star is born, right? So a star is born. Here we are, happy, healthy, functioning well, and living the way that we should live. And how's that star supposed to function? Well, what happens is we start out functioning in a certain manner, and we have a grand design. Our heart knows how to beat properly. If we're under stress, our heart rate will increase. If we need more oxygen, our lung capacity will increase. We'll actually do all those things naturally without even usually having to think about them, okay? Now, a couple different things will happen. One, we start to get bombarded by toxins or different things like that. And then the other thing that we look at is how's our body responding to get us back to happy and healthy and functioning like we should, okay? So we look at a couple different things. First off, here we are when we start out. Here we are healthy, okay? Now, who likes to be healthy? I think most of us like to be healthy. But then we get bombarded by different problems, different things in life. We'll talk about those in just a second. But then we start getting what's called symptoms, okay? And then when we move past the symptoms, get a little bit worse, we start having actual diseases. So things have broken down to that point. Now we think about it here. Let's say right here, we're kind of at our prime. Let's say we're Superman right there. Down here at the very bottom, we're in the hospital. They're trying to save our life. They're trying to get us back to functioning better and being able to just sustain life again. So there are three main things that our body has to deal with on a daily basis. And those can be chemicals, okay? We also deal with emotions, and we also deal with structural issues. Okay, so we have chemical, structural, and emotional issues that constantly bombard us. And those are pushing us down on every side. So when we talk about chemicals, it could be pesticides, it could be things all over our environment. There are chemicals that we're constantly bombarded with on a constant basis. So how's our body responding to those, and how's it going past those or getting through those problems? We also have emotions. So who's ever felt maybe stressed out for let's say a day, and then who's felt stressed out for let's say a week or a month or maybe even a year? So our bodies are constantly bombarded by stressors, emotional stresses, and a lot of us are under stress and we don't even realize it because it's just how we function on a day-to-day basis. When we talk about structural issues a lot of times are where we get the most instantaneous symptoms. We might function with chemicals or emotions for a long time without even realizing we have a problem. But structurally, our body will respond pretty quick and say, hey, things aren't moving properly, let's try to get back to normal, okay? So what we look at when we talk about structure, basically structure, we start looking at our posture, how we're balancing our body. So posture is all about how we balance, okay? And what are we balancing? We're not balancing balls or balloons on our head or anything like that. What we're looking at is how we balance basically like building blocks one on top of the other. Okay? So here we have our legs. And then we have our pelvis, this section right here. Here we have our torso or our mid-body right here. And here we have our head on the very top. So basically, posture is how we balance our body. Head on torso, torso on pelvis, and pelvis on the legs. Now, let's say one of these blocks is shifted over. Well, that's going to affect us both in how we move below and how we move above. So our body moves in a natural pattern of motion in response to how we're naturally balancing. Okay? And what we see is that our body actually it's kind of like water flowing down a mountainside. So our body will look for the path of least resistance. And it does this naturally, again, without us even thinking about it. Our body's trying to take care of us in as natural a process as possible. But what we see is with this, which is called an open kinetic chain, meaning that we're only connected here on the bottom, where our feet touch the floor. So basically this pattern of how our head's moving and how everything else is moving, let's say it's not moving so well here in this section, it's shifted off. So what starts to happen is we develop pain right here, and that's hurting us pretty bad. So structurally we start to get that pain pattern, okay? Now our body will respond to pain. Who likes being in pain? No one. So our body looks at ways to adapt and get out of that pain. So pain will make us move differently. Pain makes us maybe lean to the side or shift in how we're standing or whatever it can do to get us out of that pain. It's our body's red flag to say, hey, you got to stop doing what you're doing. So pain makes us move differently. And that's great because maybe, hey, now we're feeling pretty good and we seem to be moving pretty well. But what we tend to see is when we move differently, our body gets stuck in those patterns of motion. So therefore, we're still stuck in maybe not the correct pattern, and then things tend to flare up again. Or maybe down the road, years later possibly even, we've adapted to the point where structurally we've seen significant changes. So here's what we look at. Let's say we have three things. We have pain, we have structure, and we have function. Okay? So those are all connected, as we can see. We just put a triangle in between, again, pain, structure, and function. So pain, we all know what pain is. Structure is, again, those building blocks one on top of the other, how it's all moving and functioning together. And function, again, is how everything's moving and flowing naturally. So it's like the path of least resistance, right? So what happens if we change how things are moving? Well, that's going to lead to pain. Okay? So our body will respond and tell us, hey, something's not quite right. We need to fix this. I'm causing you some pain so that you actually do something about this. Now let's say we have a change in structure. Well, structurally, when the body's not formed or functioning exactly how it's designed to do, it also leads to pain. So what happens if we have function and pain? Well, then our body's going to adapt and structurally change. We see this in, let's say, our body's responding with this, again, pain or inflammation. Well, then our joints start to change shape a little bit, perhaps. Our ligaments might change. We might get some bony growths, osteophytes, things like that, which we then call arthritis, right? So the body is doing its very best to protect us, to maintain proper function, but then that function's off, so then it causes pain. It's trying to get back to normal, and it goes back to changing the structure. So it's doing what it's designed to do, trying to take care of us, and sometimes we wish that it would ask us first before it went and did something like gave us arthritis or something like that, right? But we also see, again, structure causes pain, and that then alters function, and function will alter structure, and structure alters function. So basically we see pain can cause a change in function, which can cause a change in structure, and vice versa. So anything ultimately can cause anything. So if our body's not balanced properly like it should be, we're going to see these alterations and these changes. And again, if we don't get to the bottom of it, then it's just kind of like masking the problem before the pain returns, before the structural changes are set in place. And our body can be pretty stubborn with that. So the question we have at this point is, would it be a better option to, let's say, take a pill or do something just to mask the pain when structurally and functionally our body's still not functioning how it should naturally? I think most people would agree that it's not the best option. It's not the optimal option to just mask the problem so that things tend to break down more, okay? So what we do here in the clinic is we look at really getting to the bottom of what's going on and what's causing problems for an individual. And again, we can look at both structural changes, how a person's body is balancing naturally, and as well as taking a look at nutrition, how our body's functioning nutritionally to take care of chemical stressors, and then also addressing emotional stressors as well. And what we find is that when we get to the bottom of these underlying barriers to healing, that we really get more long-term results for an individual. And instead of just masking the pain and trying to pretend like that's not there, where then our body has to adapt and say, hey, I'm still hurting actually. Functionally, I'm still not doing so well. We work on improving the function, whether it's nutritional function, whether it's emotional function, whether it's postural or structural function. And then when we improve on those items, then we can see, again, more long-lasting, better results. Again, my name's Dr. Jaron Soren, and I thank you for listening in and hope you have a great day.